Good morning. It is me, Dispeller, here to dispel a delusion. Uh-oh, hold on a minute. I will be right back. Are you okay? Yeah? I'll be right back, guys. Puke in there. Don't puke on the floor. There you go. There you go. Okay. We're going to get you some new food today, buddy. Poor honey. You good? You okay? No, don't puke in there. Not on the floor. Are you finished? My kitty's sick. Poor baby. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that little noise in the background. Sometimes animals get sick and there's not much you can do other than let them be sick and then find out the cause of it. I have an idea of what that is. Anyway, I didn't come on here to talk about that. I came on here to talk about something called grandiosity, sometimes also known as grandiose thinking. Good morning, Jeff. And this is not directed at any one person, although I am going to talk about a person in my life way back when, my former mentor, who was a narcissist, and how she exhibited grandiose thinking. I'm also going to talk about myself and if I exhibit that. All right, let's see. So let's talk about grandiosity. What that refers to is an unrealistic sense of being superior to other people, a sustained view that you are better than another person, which you express by being disdainful towards people, criticizing people, overinflating your own capability. Usually, like with a narcissist, they do this without proof that they have these abilities. Like somebody may say they're a famous star or they have connections. That's a common one that you hear from a narcissist. I have connections, but they really don't. It's just in their mind. They think that they have connections, or maybe they met a star at one point and they think they're really special. So I could get in anywhere I want to go and talk to this person because I once hung out with them and we were like elbow to elbow, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, sure. Usually you find yourself doing that when a narcissist is in this state of mind of grandiosity where you're just like, sure you did. Yeah, when you find yourself doing that, chances are it's probably not true and it's very exaggerated. All right. So the important thing is that people that have this grandiosity usually means they're going to belittle other people and treat them as they are less than them or inferior. They feel like they're unique. I'm special. Nobody is like me. I can do this better than anybody. That's another thing. They believe that very few people are like them. Nobody really understands them. Nobody has this in common with me. I don't fit in. I stand out from the crowd. And I can only be understood by people like myself, special people. It is usually, this trait of grandiosity is usually associated with narcissistic personality disorder, but it also is part of antisocial personality disorder and manic and hypomanic episodes of bipolar. Now, this is interesting because this brings me over to me and whether I think that I have had this grandiose thinking way about me. In my hypomanic state, which most of you know is towards the end of the year, or of the month, I'm sorry, I was looking at something. The end of the month. Do I act grandiose? Maybe. Hi, Weetsy Bat. Good morning. I don't know if it exhibits itself that way, but maybe it does. But I don't think I belittle people. At least I don't try to. I kind of get sarcastic more, I think, towards the end of the month. And by the way, I'm not in hypomanic mode anymore. Can you tell that the voice has slowed down? I can. I don't feel like this pressure to speak super fast and feel like my thoughts are coming faster than my mouth can produce them. So I don't think I have a lot of grandiosity, if I have any. I think I live kind of a humble, meager life, not by choice, really. I mean, if somebody could come along and say, hey, I could rebuild your house and make it better, and you could have real carpets on the floor and not have to dump your bucket under the sink, and your cats would have a real cat room, and you would have a beautiful shower and a bathtub you could take a bath in. Oh my gosh, I'd jump at the chance. But I am not grandiose in thinking, well, I have this little house and it's just the most beautiful house and everybody should have a little house like this. I think maybe the president would like to come and visit me in my little house. I mean, that's grandiose thinking. I don't really do that, at least not that I notice. If you think I do, please leave a comment below and let me know. And by the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell for more videos like this. So yeah, let's talk about delusions of grandeur, which is another part of narcissistic personality disorder, but it can also be a disorder, I guess, in and of itself. It's called delusional disorder. People have called me delusional, sometimes in joking, sometimes in demeaning, but let's talk about what delusional disorder actually is. It's a mental illness. Good morning, Carolyn, friends. You can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. False beliefs. Delusions of grandeur, sometimes it's called. That is actually one of the more common delusional disorders. And that's where you believe you have lots of wealth and power and you're smarter than everybody. And you have other grand traits that just set you apart. They also call this illusions of grandeur. So some delusions might be about something that happened, but it may or may not have happened. Other delusions are like bizarre, thinking that you have, this one says an alien lives in your refrigerator. So, yeah, I've never had that. I think in the past I have had delusional thinking where I thought I was closer with somebody than I was. And I kind of entered into that situation thinking that I should have special treatment because I was closer to this person than other people were. But that was like way in the past. Like I was in my early 30s, maybe 20s, actually. And that was delusional because I put myself, did you, Jeff? Sometimes I wonder if maybe aliens get into mine. I think I thought I was closer to this person than I actually was. And it made me kind of posture myself in a way of, I am here to be your special little helper, your bestest friend. But this person didn't see it that way. So I was kind of, imposing on the person in a very unfair and very uncomfortable way. When somebody thinks that they, that you are their closest friend or whatever, and you don't see it that way, it's kind of a smothering, leechy kind of thing. And that's what I was doing to this person, not intentionally. I wasn't saying, oh, I'm just going to smother her to the point emotionally where she can't stand me. No, but if we're not careful and we are codependent, we can get into those relationships where we think that it's our job to save the world. It's our job to save everybody. It's our job to help everybody. And sometimes we can become a bit over controlling. I have to be careful with that with my husband because he's diabetic and I really try to help him because I want him to get his sugars down. But at the same time, I can't be his mommy and I can't be his God and I can't be his guru. I can only be his wife. I can encourage him. I can try to do the right things and cook the right things and guide him in the right way. But ultimately, he's an adult. If he wants to buy a box of cookies, he's going to buy one, So people that say, well, just make him do this or make him do that, that's illusional and delusional because he's a grown adult. It's not my job to hold him by the hand and say, now, honey, this is what we're doing. I know fear gets in there and, well, I've lost my brother or so-and-so, they lost their leg or they died from diabetes. Yeah, alien alert. There you go. That was my alarm, actually. It's crazy, huh? That came right at the right time almost. So people tell me that, I lost my friend, I lost my brother, I lost my sister, my father, my mother. Tell him he has to do this. Make sure he does that. No, you can't, not with another adult. Maybe with a child. My husband isn't a child. So I can only give him suggestions. I can try to encourage him. I can be positive with him. I can do what's best for him as far as what I cook him and what we eat. But ultimately, the end result is going to be on, does he take his blood sugars on time? Does he take his insulin? He's been really good about that. But that's not my job to hold his hand and do that. I'm not going to take the needle and shoot him in the belly with it for him. That's his job. Now, my ex-husband, he couldn't do that for himself. So there were times I had to do that. Yeah, he has to want to do it for himself. So, yes, so delusions of grandeur can result, as I was saying earlier, in you imposing your will on other people or imposing the relationship as being something it's not and causing someone to feel very uncomfortable around you because of it. Okay, let's see here. And even sometimes healthy people can get into the delusions about themselves. They can think more of themselves than they ought or than is really there. But somebody with grandiosity, grandiose delusions, is convinced that their lies and their delusions are true. Now, I want to talk to you about somebody that I knew years ago, very many years ago, back in I think it was the 1990s, early 2000s, I will say, who had, I believe, delusions of grandeur at times. And this person was a minister. And she wouldn't mind me telling you this because she's told me herself it's fine to just talk about whatever happened to you. That was your reality. That was what I did to you. It's fine. So I have her permission, just so you know. So one day I remember we were having a ministry room, and I've told this story before in the past, but it's been a long time. So a lot of people haven't heard it. And I'm sure the people in here probably haven't. Maybe one person has. And I don't know the other people because you're incognito at the moment in the bleachers. Okay. So she told us a story about her ideal ministry production, if you will, kind of like a Dr. Phil thing, or I don't know, anything where even like TBN, if you guys have ever seen Trinity Broadcasting Network, kind of the big stage performance type thing. And the minister comes out and preaches and usually asks you for money, that sort of thing. Well, she was a preacher. We all actually were. I preached back then, and so did a bunch of my other friends. It's what we did in our chat rooms. And she said what my perfect ideal ministry situation was. And she was very picturesque and good at telling stories, so we could picture this. She said I would enter the stage, the area, whatever you call it, the Coliseum. Yeah, she did say Coliseum because you got to make it huge, in a hot air balloon. And good morning. She'd enter the Coliseum in a hot air balloon. It would come over the audience and go up to the stage where she would be, and it would lower down. And when the door would open up in the front of the hot air balloon, she would ride out on her Harley. So if that is not grandiose, I don't know what is. Now, that was kind of more of a fun grandiose, but she had a way of painting it that we could actually picture her doing this. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, that would be something, because, we were dreamy. We were adults, but I think we were very juvenile at times as adults back then in the early 2000s. We could dream up anything. We could believe almost anything. That was my pinnacle of the word of faith beliefs. And she was very much similar in her beliefs. So were the other people that were with us in the room that we were in, the online room. So it was like amazing. We could so picture this beautiful, bright, colorful hot air balloon coming, slowly landing on the stage, and out she would come on her Harley and ride out to the pulpit and start preaching. That's just an example of extreme grandiosity. Like I said, it may have been playful. It might have been real. I don't know. But she could tell it in such a way that she was convinced she would really have this one day. She would actually have that. Another part of grandiosity is hallucinations. So you hear and feel things that aren't really there, that other people can't hear and feel. And it says that they're not very long. They don't last long. So they don't really give, well, here's a good one. And actually she had this one. They believed that they had this special relationship with God, and he would tell them exactly what to do, to the point of telling them, I don't know, what to wear, what to eat. And I'm not saying God can't guide you in that way. He can. But I mean, literally hearing the voice saying, thou shalt not eat pork chops or something like that. Sometimes that can be a little bit delusional. But I'm not saying you can't hear God's voice, because I do. But there's a difference between the extremes of it. And, oh, I can't make this decision because I've got to go talk to God and hear what he has to say. Sometimes that can be a little bit delusional, and it makes people sound like woohoo. People don't get it, let's see. And it says that these delusions or illusions can be serious enough to cause problems in a person's actual life. It usually also can go along with bipolar disorder and even schizophrenia. So you might have been thinking kind of, oh, is that like schizophrenia? Yeah, it can be part of schizophrenia. It is a mental illness. It's not something to be mocked. However, if you watch comedy, a lot of times people with mental illnesses are mocked by comedians, and people get very offended by that. What I think is interesting is when people that are the comedians have a disorder and they kind of mock themselves, so that I guess it's their way of coping with other people making fun of them sometimes. And they make it really funny, so you laugh. And I've been guilty of laughing at that too. But that's when they're doing that, about themselves, and they joke about it. And it's kind of to make light of it, or maybe they've just overcome it, and they want you to know that they're okay. There's many reasons why people have delusions or illusions. But I thought this was an interesting topic today because people call me delusional. So getting back to whether I think I have this, I think at times I'm an idealist. I would love it if everybody just lived in peace and harmony and kumbaya, wonderful love and affection and tolerance, at least, of each other. But it's not realistic. There are friends and there are enemies, and we all have them on here. It's probably less prevalent or less in your face in reality, but it does exist. There is that sense of, I can trust you and I can't trust you. So we do have that, whether we want to call it friends and enemies or not. We really do. And even the Bible talked about your friends and your enemies. So it's not something I just made up. It's not something that, is a fantasy idea. There really are people on the good side and the bad side. There's good people, there's bad people, there's people with good hearts and bad hearts. That's just how it's been down through the ages. Even in Jesus's time, there were Pharisees and scribes and all kinds of people that were not so good. And then there were the people that were the followers of Jesus that maybe were a little bit better, but even they betrayed him at times. So there is not one all good, all bad person, I don't believe. When I say I'm a saint, when I say that I do not sin, that's a faith confession. And yes, some people would say, well, that's fantasy or that's pretend. You can call it what you want. I know what I believe. And I believe as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if I think of myself as defeated, if I think of myself as a bad person, if I think of myself as a sinner, if you will, then that's exactly what I'm going to walk out in my life. So I'm not going to think of myself that way. I don't confess that over myself. I don't believe that about myself. And actually, if you look at the majority of my life, not those few weeks that I was around influences that caused me to not be who God called me to be. But if you look at the majority of my life, my timeline, if you will, there's been many people that I've helped. There's been many people I have led to Yahweh, which at the time, Jesus. And I've had a pretty good life. I've been a good person for the most part of it. I've had like maybe 6 years total out of my lifetime that I can think of that I really, people would question my actions or motives towards other people. But for the most part, yeah, I've been a very genuine altruistic person in my life, or tried to be. And I haven't sought out to harm people. However, if I get my eyes on the wrong things, sometimes I can lash out and I can say things that later I was like, why did I say that? It doesn't happen very often these days. I'm pretty cognizant of what I want to say. And so if I say something and it seems like, man, why'd she say that? It was probably done on purpose, because I think through my thoughts. It's not an oopsie for me. It's not accidental. Um, People have often used the term fallen into sin or fallen in love. I don't fall, I choose. I'm not, I'm a choleric, so I don't have that personality where I ruminate over everything and I have to tell every detail. Um, in fact, I've been in chat rooms lately, all over YouTube, where people cannot just tell their story and be done with it. They have to give every little detail, and then they have to rehash it and rehash it and rehash it. That's one big reason I don't like true crime, because it's like talked about ad nauseum. It never, well, at least lately, there isn't a closure on it. It's just, let's just keep talking about what could be, what could have happened, what might have them done, what might have they done, or what they might have done, whatever. It gets annoying to me because I don't like repetition. And I sit there and scream at the screen. Why do they have to keep talking about this? Why do they keep digging into this? Okay, you told your story. This is what happened. Blah, blah, blah. We're done. Move on. That's how I get. I don't like sitting and rehashing stuff. Which is probably why, like, if I get on a topic, even with other people, you don't see me in that chat room a lot after that, because I just get like, okay, we've talked about this. I'm bored now. Let's move on. I'm not talking about if you're going through something like intense, like, I don't know, some kind of therapy or whatever, and people come together and try to support you like a support group. That's not what I mean. I mean people, like I've given this example before, going shopping with melancholy people. That's their personality, their temperament. A choleric goes in, sees what they want. Usually we have a list. We look for the thing we want. We make sure it's the exact thing we want, and we leave, usually. Or we go on to the next thing and buy that. A melancholy has to talk about every feature of that item. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Do you think that'll match my shoes? Wow, I wonder if I should get this one instead. No, I probably shouldn't, because then my husband will be upset and he doesn't like that color on me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just buy the flipping thing. I can't with that. I'm a choleric. That's my temperament. For a long time, I hung out with very melancholy people in my past. Most of my friends were melancholy temperament, and I tried to be a melancholy. And you cannot be what you're not. I'm not saying melancholies are bad people. What I'm saying is it drives us cholerics bonkers to be around somebody that's extremely melancholy while they're in that mode of investigation or detail-oriented thinking. We can't. So it's just the way God made everybody. Everybody's unique. And yes, I do believe in the Jungian theory of temperaments. I definitely do, because there is something to that. And then like the phlegmatic personalities, very laid back and very great listeners. And melancholies are great if you want to know every detail of something, and it's important in what they're doing to have the details, because they'll make sure nothing is out of place. They'll make sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted. The melancholies will. Phlegmatics will just sit there and kind of listen and, that's interesting. They make great therapists because they're great listeners. They're not hyper people by nature. They're very laid back people, and usually pleasant to be around, but sometimes a bit monotonous and boring for a temperament of a choleric. We want action, and we want beginning, middle, end, and that's it. This is the bottom line. This is what we see, and this is how it is. I'm a step-by-step person. I'm a rule person. Part of that is my temperament. I'm a choleric. I like things to get done. Phlegmatics are just indecisive a lot of times. They don't always make quick decisions. They have to mull it over and think about it. Not like a melancholy where they have to make a decision and then change their mind. And well, I'm not sure if that was the right decision. I probably should think of it this way, or no, maybe that would hurt that person. So no, I can't. That's a melancholy. A phlegmatic is like, well, I really need to see all the angles of it and see if that might be the best idea for all of us concerned. That's more of a phleg. And they drive us crazy because they drag their feet a lot of times. And we're just like, get to it. I've seen a mix of all these personalities on YouTube for sure. And then you have your sanguine, rainbows, butterflies, Glinda of YouTube, who has to make sure everybody's happy and getting along. And, we're all just cute little friendly friends, and we all have to like each other and be happy for each other. And, and there's a place for that too. People love jokes. People love upbeat positivity. And that's fun. Even for me, I enjoy comedy. I enjoy upbeatness to an extent. When it gets to be syrupy, drippy, woohoo, everything's wonderful, rainbows and lightning and not lightning, sorry, rainbows and butterflies and maybe lightning. I don't know. Something exciting and everything's exciting and everything's wonderful. I'm like, come down to earth now. Let's deflate your helium balloon and bring you down here. It's because I'm a choleric. I can't deal with a lot of that, but I like a little bit of it. So if you're finding you clash with people on here, it might not be because they're delusional. It might not be because they have illusions. It might be their temperament. And maybe y'all need a break from each other. I do. I can only take small doses of stuff in people. And I'm sure people can only take so much of my bottom line. This is the way it is. Here's the rules and bossiness. We're all different personalities, temperaments, and each one of us has something important to give and something positive to give. But just realize if people don't want to hang with you all the time, it might be your temperament that clashes with theirs. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you need to change your temperament. It just means give us our space, I'm okay now about maybe people don't like coming in my room all the time. I get too bossy. I get too choleric. I get too bottom line. This is the way it is. And you need to get over this and whatever. And they don't like it. So they go to a place that's more like, as my pastor used to say, pets them, like comforts them, soothes them, encourages them. I've always said there's a difference between a coach and a therapist. I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. I'm going to tell you this is what's happening in your life when you tell me what your situation is, and this is how you're going to overcome it. But a therapist is going to sit there and say, well, when you said that, what did they do? And how did they feel about that? And how did you feel about that? And what did you do next? And what did you think about that? Yeah, I can't with all that stuff. I can't. I have to just get to it, So, yeah, it doesn't make me delusional. It just makes me different. It's not even that I'm better than anybody, because I know I'm not. I'm just me. But what I do for me, my beliefs, the things I do, like my Hanukkah practice, my word of faith beliefs, have worked for me. And they've helped me be who I am today, who you see sitting in front of you, good, bad, and indifferent, whatever. That's who I am. And I'm happy with my beliefs, and I like myself. I was somewhere yesterday. Where was it? I don't remember. I don't remember if it was online or offline. Two people were talking about somebody liking themselves. It might have been a room I was lurking in. I don't remember. And the other person said, well, yeah, a lot of us like ourselves, but we don't all say that we like ourselves or that we love ourselves. Well, I do. God says, love your neighbor as yourself. So whoever you consider your neighbor to be, you have to love them. You're supposed to love them. But first, you got to love you. You have to be confident in who you are and like what you see and what you're about in order to reach out with anything to give them. You can't give out of an empty vessel. So you have to be fulfilled in yourself in order to give to others, in order to be in a relationship, a healthy relationship with other people. And if you don't like you, when you look in the mirror, if you even bother to look in the mirror, a lot of people with very low self-worth will not look in mirrors. They don't like what they see. And the eyes are the window to the soul. So what is the first thing you usually see when you look at a mirror or even a store window up close? Is your eyes or your body. But a lot of people eventually will look at their own eyes if they can bear to. And if you can, a lot of times you don't like what you see deep down inside in your eyes. When I look in my eyes, I see a lot of pain. I see a lot of hurt. I see a lot of walls from being hurt, a lot of frustrations, sadness. I don't see evil. I don't see vindictiveness. I don't see vengefulness or the desire to hurt others, because I just don't have that. But I definitely see those things I just said. One thing that hurts me, and yeah, I'm going to go here, and maybe I shouldn't open this door, because I know it just puts attention where it doesn't need to be necessarily, but I'm going to go here. When somebody hurts my husband, that honestly hurts me worse than when they hurt me. And I'll tell you why. From the moment I talked to my husband and he was open and honest about who he was and what happened and things like that, I had to make some tough decisions, and I won't get into what those were because y'all already know that. I've already been smeared for that one. And that was a very hurtful, painful time in my life when I made that decision. But more than that, here I had this man who had been so downtrodden and so stomped on, but kept up a very stern exterior. Did not let me in for the longest time. Emotionally, psychologically, whatever. And I had to kind of chip away at who he was in order to find out who he really was, and in order for him to embrace who he really was. Now, we've been together 10 years, 9 years, I can't remember. We've been married, I think, almost 7 years. I honestly lose track. We've been together for a long time. We've been married for a pretty long time. It took a long time, I would say probably about 4 or 5 years, to get to the point where he would open up and we could communicate. And he would tell me when something was bothering him, instead of slamming doors or punching walls or just exhibiting a lot of temper and a lot of anger. He had a lot of hurt and a lot of anger inside of him because of things done to him and because of mistakes that he made and things that were held against him. He's a human being with a label that society gave him. He believes he earned that label and he deserves that label. However, some people felt he didn't, and they removed the label from him legally, and yet he's still held through to that label and through those eyes. The reason that all of what's happening to him hurts me so badly is that it took so long and so much work and so much effort and therapy, years of therapy, to get him to the point where we could have fun together. He was happy. We were getting closer to each other. He could finally let down the walls romantically and even emotionally. And now what has happened is it's shoved him right back into that bubble, into that shell. COVID hasn't helped either, but a lot of the behaviors of other people have shoved him into that shell. And I see a fraction of a man again. I'm trying to think, there's this thing that I saw that would be a perfect definition of what I'm trying to say, a perfect word picture, if you will. There was this thing I saw where there was this big evil villain of some kind. I guess it was a monster or whatever. And along came something that just poofed this monster away. And what crawled off was this tiny little worm. And that's what I see with my husband. I'm not calling him a worm, so don't think that way. But he's a fraction of who he was. He was finally getting to the point where he was strong and he wasn't mean. He just was outspoken and he was bold and he knew what he was and who he was as a person, a human being. He knew he had done wrong. That never goes away. You can't undo the wrong you've done in life. You can be forgiven and you can forgive yourself. But when someone constantly tears you down to the point where he's melancholy, so he starts believing it. That's another thing about melancholies. They internalize things. If you call them a name, they start to believe they really are that name. So I watched him go from up here, proud of himself, proud to show me his accomplishments, happy to go to work and happy to be somebody special, like we all are special people in our own way, to this little tiny worm that crawls through his days. Doesn't know if anybody really wants him around, if anybody likes him, if he should even like himself. Why go on? Why live? It's heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking. All the progress we've made through EMDR, the progress we made through therapy, a big chunk of it has been destroyed. And we're starting over at ground level, zero, maybe less than zero if there is such a thing, of a man that was once starting to become a really good citizen and a viable member of society who liked himself and who felt proud to get out there and share what he had gone through. And now he's hesitant to even get online. He's hesitant to talk to people. COVID knocked him down so bad that he can't think straight half the time. And he can't work. And people are condemning him for that. Well, if you can get online, then you can go work a job. Online is just talking. A job requires moving your hands, your legs in sync, and thinking clear, coherent thoughts. I'm still struggling at my job. Sometimes I forget what box I'm supposed to grab. I forget what shelf it goes on. I'm not who I was before COVID. That's for darn sure. And neither is he. But in spite of that, we were kicked repeatedly when we were down with COVID. Some of you are now our friends, and I'm thankful for that. I understand why people get so angry that they tear people down. I understand that. Because I'm so angry, there's people I would like to tear down right now. But that's not the godly way to be, and I'm really trying not to go there. I'm not saying I haven't already gotten close to crossing that line at times. Usually I hold myself back from going online when I feel like that. At least I try to. But my heart has always been to help people and see redemption and restoration. However, there are times that there are situations I can't fix, and I have to realize that and walk away and say, hey, this is unfixable by me. That doesn't mean somebody else can't come along and fix it, but everything isn't my job to fix. Everything isn't your job to fix. People ultimately make decisions, good, bad, whatever. And we reap what we sow, all of us, whether you want to call it karma or reciprocity. That's the law of reciprocity. We call it in Christian circles and Bible circles. What you give out, you get back. And it's true. I've seen it happen over and over again on here. But I keep coming on here because I feel like I have something more to give. And for whatever reason, I didn't die with COVID. There are people that have died with it. That's the reality of COVID. It's vicious. It destroys your organs. And I don't know if any of mine have been destroyed. I haven't had an overall examination organ check. I don't even know if they do such a thing. I don't know if, how long my heart will make it, how long my lungs will survive. I have no idea. But as long as I have my breath back and I have the ability to talk again, I'm going to just keep trying to put quality into the world through YouTube. I'm going to keep talking about narcissism because that's how my channel started. I'm going to analyze behaviors because that's what I love to do. I find it fascinating about behaviors and why people do what they do and say what they say, and people's pasts, like their childhoods and stuff. That's fascinating to me because it shapes who we are now. And it also teaches that no matter what happened in our past, we can overcome it. Most people can. I don't know, maybe narcissists, like malignant narcissists, cannot ever come back from that. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know what people's ends are. He only knows that. He holds our futures in his hand. He holds our life in his hands. So only he knows what the end of somebody is. It's not our job to judge that or say, well, they're going to hell because they did this or whatever. I know we say that, maybe sometimes tongue-in-cheek, but I believe hell is a real place. Not everybody believes that. And maybe hell is not a real place. Maybe that's just absence from God or absence from the universe or absence from good, or maybe it's reincarnation. Whatever you believe, we're here now. And what we do here and now in the short amount of time we have makes a difference in the long run. Even if you don't leave behind a grandiose legacy of you are this movie star, celebrity, even if that's not you. I'm a little person in a tiny house that's a mess most of the time because I don't know how to keep up with it. And a huge property that I can't keep up with. And yet a house that I will have paid off probably within the next few years. And I'm just me. I'm not anybody huge and special and whatever. I'm a YouTube personality, I guess, if you will, a character on YouTube. But what I want is, I realize when I pass away, everything I did on earth made a difference in some way, whether it was a good one or a bad one. And whatever you believe about this world and this life, that it's just a vapor and it fades away, there's still people that live here that believe it's a very real important thing while you're here to be the best you can be. And that's really where my focus is hopefully going to start gradually going back to, is just putting out quality into the world. I'm not saying I won't get into some spats every once in a while. It's kind of invigorating to be able to speak your mind and have a voice. I don't just mean a physical voice, but yeah, that too. I'm honestly astonished I'm still here, to be totally blatantly honest with you. You guys weren't here when I had the first stages of COVID. So you didn't see what I went through. I've told you a little bit about it, but seeing is believing a lot of times. And those first 3 days, I really believed I was a goner. I thought this was it. I remember I was like, God, I don't even have enough energy or strength to pray to you. So all I can say is, if this is how you're allowing me to be taken out of this life, then please let it be painless and quick, because I don't want to suffer. I really believed I was gone. So I made a promise to myself and to him that if I survived that, I would try to put quality into my life, the rest of it, whatever that means, however many years or months or days that is. So I try to do that. When I come on here, I want it to be quality. Even the things I've said negatively about people, it's more me trying to say, hey, look, there's something going on in you. You need to check it out. You need to make sure that you're getting help. If you need help, you need to look at yourself and examine yourself. What are you doing? Life is short. And that's not just a cliche. For some people, life has really been short. I heard from my friend the other day. You guys know who he is. I'm not going to mention his name because he might not appreciate that, but he's been in and out of chat rooms over the years. He's a real life friend. He lost, I think it was his father, but he also lost a 27-year-old cousin to COVID. Why? Because he was obese and he was too ashamed to go to the hospital in that condition. So he didn't get any treatment for his COVID, and I guess it got really bad and it killed him. So before you fat shame another person, before you criticize somebody's weight, whoever you are, it's not cool, guys. These are shells that we're in here. Whether you believe in heaven, hell, purgatory, limbo, whatever, you're in a shell. Excuse me. You're in a shell. One day it's going to go into the ground or into ashes. It's not going to be here anymore. My biggest thing of losing weight, yes, I want to look good. We're all a little bit vain when it comes to our image. Not necessarily harmfully so, but we want to look good. It's just in us to look good. I don't know why. Maybe it's society or media or whatever. But it's really my health. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to struggle to breathe. I don't want to get back to 230 pounds or whatever that highest weight I was at, where it hurt to move. Everything hurt. I want to lose weight because I want to be healthy. And I want to inspire other people that feel awful about themselves and have all their lives because of their weight. It's not a vain, extremely vain image thing only for me. It's not, well, people are going to fat shame me if I'm fat. Go ahead and fat shame me. It doesn't, see, the thing about shame is you're not ashamed unless you take that in and feel ashamed. I can't tell you how many times I have read in comments, Dee Dee, when I was Dee Dee, you should be ashamed of yourself. No, I shouldn't. Why should I be ashamed of myself? I don't carry shame with me. That's something you're trying to put on me. I don't have to take on me. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm being my best self. And if I'm being my best self, why should I feel ashamed or shame? I don't need to feel shame. I don't have to take that from you. You're giving me this gift of shame, if you will. And I don't have to say, oh, thank you so much for that present. Oh, I feel awful. I'm so ashamed. I feel so bad about who I am. I don't have to do that. I get to take your gift, if you will, or say, no, you can keep that. You can keep that shame. And don't even open that gift. Don't take that on yourself either. Maybe work on being the best person you can so you don't have to feel shame. How about that? There's a thought. But don't put your shame on me. Don't try to put your shame on me because I'm not going to accept that from you. That's not a gift I want. Or a curse, if you will. I say gift because you can picture the gift package. Here's shame. Here's condemnation. Here's fat shaming. You don't have to take it. I'm not going to. And don't you either. Just spend your life working on being the best you can be. And yeah, point out the things you see that are concerning you. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you're doing this and it hurt me. I've always done that. And actually, I was taught that either by my mother or my foster mom, that when I would get into like a tussle with my brother and sister, they say, hey, let's talk about it. Use your words. Have you ever heard that saying, use your words? Well, we were taught to use our words. So if somebody's hurting me, I'm going to say, hey, that was hurtful. Hey, what you're doing is mean. You're being mean. You're a mean person right now. I'm going to. Aw, thanks. I try. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Now, if you're saying you're a B, you're awful, you deserve to die, you deserve to go to hell and burn in hell. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But address the behaviors. Don't tear down the person, because every person, I believe, except maybe narcissists, have this little innate thing inside of them called emotions, heart, feelings. We all do. And actually, even narcissists have that deep down inside usually. They don't let it come up too much, the fact that they're vulnerable human beings. They have to look strong and in control. And, that's just how they are. But if you withdraw from a narcissist, and I've posted these videos on my community page, please do go and watch them if you haven't already. If you totally and utterly withdraw from a narcissist, they feel that. They feel that as deep rejection. And number one, usually they'll have this attitude of, well, fine, go. Didn't need you anyway. You were never a true friend. You were never true to me, whatever. But then deep down inside, they're like, wait, come back. I had fun with you. I remember some of the good times. And I don't have anybody to boss around now and control and do my bidding. So, oh, wait, now, yes, I do. I have this person over here that's been waiting in the wings. I'll just go to them. But they'll keep you kind of at not very far away from them. They're watching what you're doing. One thing I know about narcissists is that they never truly go away from you unless something really drastic takes their temperature, takes their focus away. And so what that looks like is, in the past, this person with the grandiose hot air balloon Harley vision, she would watch me on Yahoo, because we were online friends, and I did meet her in real life several times. That was a disaster, both times. Anyway, she would watch me on Yahoo, and her new supply source, a new lady, we'll call her Dove. Dove and her would be together online doing whatever ministry things they did. And she would see me pop up on Yahoo, and she'd be like, hold on a minute. She'd run over to Yahoo, and what's she doing right now? What is she talking about? And she just typed something to me. And you know me. If you know me, I write long texts. You may say, hey, how are you doing today? And I'll give you a whole big dialogue of my whole entire existence. You'll be like, I just asked how you were. Just say fine or bad or whatever. I don't need the whole life story. I'm very detailed. That part of me is melancholy. So I would give her big, long details of everything. And I got to leave like really shortly here. I'm going to work today. So she would type to me on Yahoo and just a few words, whatever. And then I would just type this big long dialogue, and she'd say to Dove, "You see that? See that? You hear what she said? Do you read what she said?" She's like, "Yeah, why do you care? You're not with her anymore. You split. You two aren't even friends anymore. Why do you care? Just watch. Just watch her. Now I'm going to say this and watch what she's going to say." And that's what she would do. She would use me like a little fly under a microscope and poke at me. That's what narcissists like to do once you're gone. Because you're never gone from a narcissist, like I said, unless something extremely takes their focus off of you. Like in this case, this lady eventually remarried. So she has a new family. She's totally into something else, different people, different players in her life, so that took her attention away from me eventually. But yeah, they totally they totally just get into watching you from a distance and seeing every move that you make. And and it's weird, but it is true. That's what they do. It's called hoovering or hovering. Either way, they hover, which means they're kind of lingering nearby, but they hoover you back in if they can. Oh, I'm sorry, I do not mean to trigger you. Trigger warning here. Trigger warning. So if it's uncomfortable, please do not stay. I will not take it personally. I get it. Sorry, I did not previously do that. I don't always think about that stuff. But yeah, they hoover you back in because they want to keep that supply of feeling in control of you going. When you leave, it's like, oh, I lost my control. I lost what I was being able to manipulate and move around the board, yeah, hopefully they can. So, yeah. And like I said, I'm not talking about any one person in particular, except this former person in my life, who gave me permission to talk about her. Now she's super happy. As far as I know, she's in a new marriage. He treats her like a princess and a queen, and she's got new daughters, and she's a happy camper. So, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Weezy. That's hard. A lot of mixed emotions there, I'm sure. That's awful. Condolences to you, and definitely may Yahweh heal your heart with his Holy Spirit, because that's what I mean. COVID is real, and death is real, and we're losing people, and now we have this new variant, and yeah, so there's real stuff going on, real life here. But yeah, we get on YouTube and it's our fantasy world. Everybody kind of gets into a fantasy mode, and we can be tough and yell at people and cuss them out and whatever, if you're into that sort of thing. Or we can tell them, this is how it is and this is what's going on. But ultimately, that person lives in a real world too. And I don't know if they act differently in that real world. Maybe some people do. Maybe there's a persona. Matthew says, I have a persona I get in when I come on here that I'm not like that in real life. Now, in the past, back when I was in other social media forums and actually met people that I was hanging out with, they said, wow, it's amazing. You're exactly like you are online. So maybe YouTube did something to me. Maybe I do have two personalities. One that I bring on here that's very direct, tries to be compassionate, and tries to give information that's helpful. And then one that I'm offline and I'm sweet and I'm quiet. I told you before that when I'm in person with someone, I have trouble with eye contact. I'm kind of shy. I'm not very outspoken. If I'm in like a group, I'm not the one likely to be the first to speak out. But on here, I guess it's different because you have a screen in front of you. You come on here purposely to put forth a message or to reach out to somebody and address something. So maybe it is different. Maybe I am different. I don't know. Matthew says I am, and he lives with me, so he probably would know that. I don't know if it's like a hugely bad difference right now. It was for a while. I didn't like who I was becoming, definitely. And I'm glad that I'm not in that situation anymore. Sometimes situations and people bring out the worst in us. Maybe they intend to, maybe they don't. I don't know. It depends on the situation. But I know that when I am in certain circumstances, I don't like me. And then it's like, well, I'm getting into this ugly behavior that I don't like. I've got to get out of that because that's not what feeds my spirit. That's not what makes me feel like a good person or somebody that people can draw close to. I don't try to draw people or drive people away. I hate that when that happens. but it does happen usually because of my surroundings, which I guess in a way kind of makes me a little bit empathic if I absorb the surroundings to the point where I become an ugly person in my behavior. I don't know. I don't try to overanalyze things. I'm not that melancholy to do that. But I do analyze myself sometimes. I just don't go super deep in it, maybe, unless there's a real problem there that I need to correct. I just know, I'm feeling like I'm doing ugly things and I don't like it and I don't sin. So this isn't okay to be gravitating towards that direction because that's not feeding my spirit. That's not the best of who I was created to be. So I get out of that. Whether you want to call that, she sinned and now she's not sinning anymore, or she made mistakes, or she had flaws and she corrected them, however you want to see that. All I know is I was going this direction and now I'm going that direction. And I like this direction better. I'm going to stay in this direction as much as possible. Not that I won't step over in that direction a little bit sometimes, because I will. I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm the type of person, hey, what's going on over there? Or, is there something that I can contribute? Or should I, say this or do that? Or I've always been that type of person. I was always that little girl that was quiet but sneaky. I was always very sneaky. They used to call us the private eyes of social media back in the day because, we would split up in friendships and stuff, but we would spy on each other. The type of forum I was in, you could do that. You could sneak around and peer in at the other people. Now we do that. It's called lurking on here. And we all lurk. Well, at least most of us do. Some people could care less. They don't lurk. But it's human nature to lurk and see what people are saying. I really believe that. And in fact, even Jesus lurked. Now get this. So there was a story in the Bible. This opened my eyes one day because I always felt bad about being a private eye on social media. So I was like, well, that's just like wrong. We shouldn't spy on people. That's unbiblical and whatever. So I was reading my Bible one day and I came across a story, and I'll try to find the scripture and post it if I can. It was a story about Jesus talking to two of his brothers, James and John. And they were like, well, we're going up to town. And he said, okay, you guys go ahead. I'm not coming with you. However, once they were down there, Jesus snuck down there and he was spying. He was basically observing things from a distance, which is spying, y'all. So I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad about it anymore. But I will find that. I'll find that scripture story for you so you can see that I'm not just making it up. It's not just a pipe dream that I illusionally envisioned. It is really an actual thing in the Bible. So even Jesus was sneaky at times. There's times that it's beneficial to be sneaky, and there's other times when it's probably none of your business to snoop. And we all cross that line at times because we're interested and curious people. But anyway, I don't know. I just thought I would say that and throw that in there. It's weird when you're on here and you're on camera and you're seeing all these people in your room. You're like, they're expecting me to talk because that's why I'm on here. So you come up with things, and sometimes your brain just goes a mile a minute and you start just talking. And that's kind of what I just did there. But hopefully that's kind of interesting and intriguing to you to wait for me to post that, because it was pretty eye-opening to me. I feel like you always see new things in the Bible when you read it. At least I do. And if you've never read the Bible and maybe you're anti-God, anti-Christianity, anti-Bible, anti-word of faith, whatever, pick up the Bible and just read it. It's a pretty interesting book. Even if you don't want to live by it, or you'll never be that, you're atheist or you're agnostic and you want nothing to do with God or anything Bible-based, just read it. It's a fascinating read. It's the best horror novel you'll ever read. It's the best romance novel you'll ever read, in my opinion. So, yeah, do it. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to get going because I literally have 5 minutes to go and drink my chia water and to pack whatever I'm bringing for my lunch and get ready for work. But I thank you for being here. I know we got off on a little beaten trail, or off the beaten trail, however you say that. But I've enjoyed talking. I've enjoyed sharing. And I hope all of you have a blessed day. I hope that you're kind to somebody today, or somebody's kind to you, whoever needs it more. And that even if you do decide to snoop and spy, that you're doing it with the motive to help somebody. And even if you expose something that's going on that's bad or evil or wrong or hurtful, that your motive behind it is to better the situation, not just to rip apart the person's personality or character. Because I don't ever want to rip somebody's character apart without helping them improve it, if that makes sense, or directing it in a way that they can look at themselves and maybe make changes, like I did for that mentor years ago, and she ended up remarrying and being happy. So whatever part I played in that season of her life, I did something good. So hopefully your motive is always to do something good for somebody, not to just punish them for the sake of punishing them or making them feel bad, but always to restore. That's just my opinion again. So y'all have a great day. Be blessed and shalom.